Now, if these two factors are fulfilled, then this bond will be strong bond, and since there is a hydrogen here, so we'll be calling this as hydrogen bond. That's it. The hydrogen bond will be as such. This scenario will be there operating in numerous cases. Even there's another atom instead of hydrogen that may be electron deficient. Even if this atom is bigger enough, there will be some amount of electronic density coming in. So there will always be some electronic density between these two polar atoms, but those two electronic density will not be sufficient enough. So somewhere we have to draw the line that after this level, the electronic density will be sufficient enough to be considered as a factor. Below this, the electronic density won't be sufficient enough to be considered as a factor. So that borderline comes with hydrogen. If we don't have hydrogen, if we have some other atom, generally, because the hydrogen has least electronegativity, so the amount of plus charge that will be developed on hydrogen will be more than any other atom. Alright, so the amount of electronic density called by hydrogen, electron deficient hydrogen ion, not completely ion, but electron deficient hydrogen site, will be greater than any other atom, making the bond much stronger. So with the hydrogen, such kind of a situational bond will be much stronger. So generally this kind of situation turns into a considerable amount of bond only with hydrogen. As we had hyperconjugation only with CH bond, remember? Hyperconjugation is considered only with CH bond because the CH bond is the weakest bond we come across in organic. So the amount of electronic density coming out of CH bond is sufficient enough to be considered as a factor. For other bonds, for CC bond, we don't consider it as a factor because this is a strong bond and little electronic density come out of it. Similarly, for this situation, for a hydrogen, we call it specifically hydrogen bond and we consider this kind of bonding only for hydrogen. For other atoms, this is a weak bond. We don't consider them to be a factor enough to be considered. Right? That's why the name hydrogen bond, and these two are the conditions. Now the implication of this topic is much more than what usually would meet the eye. And let's start with the problem and let's see what kind of situation are we going to face ahead in this course. So these two will be the condition. So these two conditions would be satisfied basically with only 3 atoms. Now it has to be electronegative, it has to be small, not large. And large in organic, with third period atoms become large. The atoms belonging to third period, generally we call them large because they are large compared to carbon. And because we deal with carbon and hydrogen, hydrogen belonging to first period, carbon to the second, so the third period atoms becomes large with respect to carbon and hydrogen. So it has to be small, and it has to be small meaning it should belong to first period or second period. Apart from belonging to first period and second period, it also must be electron deficient as discussed a moment before. And the electronegative atom in the first period and the second period are 3. They are fluorine, oxygen, nitrogen. Although chlorine has very close electronegativity with nitrogen, but chlorine belongs to third period, that makes it large. So that will not participate in hydrogen bonding, right? So for hydrogen bonding, these two conditions clubbed together boils down into a simple conclusion that hydrogen bonding will be considering only for 3 atoms. Although there would be some amount of hydrogen bonding in other atoms, we will not consider them to be a sufficiently strong factor. We will not term it as hydrogen bonding. Technically, if someone asks, will there be hydrogen bonding with chlorine? You will say with a bold, confident chest, no, there won't be a hydrogen bonding with chlorine. Will it be with phosphorus or sulfur? No. It won't be with phosphorus and sulfur, or for that matter for bromine and iodine. They are electronegative, yes they are, but their size is large. So this factor, that electron would come into the orbital of hydrogen, would not be operating sufficiently, making the bond weak enough to be not considered as a factor. I hope I'm clear. So the bottom line is hydrogen bonding will be there for fluorine, oxygen and nitrogen. Alright, that's complete the theory. Let's go on with problems. Problem number 1 is someone asks you, dear H2S, hydrogen disulfide. H2S is in which state at room temperature? H2S is a gas, we all know. H2S is gas at room temperature, but water, H2O, is liquid at room temperature. And they ask why. Now you understand the sense or the motivation of the question. Generally, if you don't have these kind of bondings, the boiling point depends solely on molecular mass, on van der Waals force of attraction. If you don't have ionic attraction, there will be van der Waals force of attraction, which depends upon atomic mass. Now H2 is same here. You have sulfur, you have oxygen, sulfur 32, atomic mass 32, oxygen atomic mass 16. Atomic mass of H2S is 34. Water is 18. Now this is almost double of water. Molecular mass wise, H2S is much heavier than water, but still, being much more heavy than H2O, H2S is gaseous at room temperature. H2O enjoys the liquid state. That means the molecules, being heavy, are free enough to move in gaseous state, but molecules here for water, even though they are lighter, but what makes them compact in liquid state? That's the question. Alright, the answer to this would be boiling point depends upon the force of attraction. True, H2S is heavier, so by the virtue of mass, van der Waals force of H2S will be stronger than the van der Waals force of H2O. But sad enough that van der Waals force of H2O will not be strong enough to keep this in liquid state. That will be weak. Force due to charge is always stronger than force due to mass. Like Coulombic force of attraction is always greater than gravitational force of attraction, right? Even if you have tiny charges, sometimes you do during combing your hair, you feel that charge, your hair being attracted to the comb, you feel that. Even if you have a small amount of static charges, you have a big masses all around, you don't see them collapsing with each other. The force of attraction due to mass is very less. That's a fact. So here, van der Waals force of attraction would be much weaker than ionic attraction. Ionic attraction maybe because of dipole attraction, or in the same here, hydrogen bonding. That is also because of polarities. That will also come into the category of ionic attraction. So this van der Waals force of H2S is weak, but there must be some other force operating in H2O. That is evident enough since we are studying it under hydrogen bond. Hydrogen bond must be operating in H2O, and in fact there are 4 hydrogen bonds that operate in H2O, which we'll see later. But there is a hydrogen bond in H2O which is not there in H2S. So because of hydrogen bond, the water is in liquid state because the force of attraction between the molecules is strong enough to keep them intact. So they are in liquid state, they don't come out, don't come to the vapor state. So at room temperature it remains liquid because of a strong force of attraction. That is hydrogen bond. Alright. Next, if someone asks you about a carboxylic acid, and they say that the boiling point of carboxylic acid is exceptionally high as compared to the theoretical boiling point based on their molecular mass, or compared to other functional groups of comparable molecular mass like aldehydes or ketones. If you have a carboxylic acid of molecular weight W, if you have an aldehyde or ketone of molecular weight W, then the aldehyde or ketone will be having considerably less boiling point than carboxylic acid. And they ask why? Because again, some force must be operating in case of carboxylic acid that is preventing carboxylic acid to move out in liquid state or vapor state, in vapor state. That's why the boiling point is higher. Alright, I hope you understand what boiling point is. Boiling point is the temperature at which liquid starts boiling. That means the liquid, the molecule which was in the liquid state being attracted from all 4 sides comes out. Now this would come out only if the attraction is overcome. This molecule was attracted by the rest of the molecule and it overcomes that force of attraction and comes out. Like if something is on the earth and if you are lifting it, this was on the earth because the force of attraction, it was attracted by the earth, and to lift it you have to overcome that force of attraction. So you have to do some work. You have to pull, and you have to pull that block up or pull that material up, overcoming the force of attraction by the earth. Similarly, here you have force of attraction by rest of the molecules. If it has to come up, it has to overcome that force of attraction, and that overcoming of force of attraction is possible if it possesses some energy in form of kinetic energy that comes at higher temperature. So the stronger the force of attraction, the more energy it would be required for this molecule to come out, and that more energy will be provided at higher temperature. So the boiling point becomes higher. So if the force of attraction is more, the boiling point will be more. So if someone says boiling point of this carboxylic acid is more, that means force of attraction among carboxylic acids must be more. And but the fact is, carboxylic acid actually exists as a dimer. Like this. It's a dimer like this. It forms a 6-member ring. Now this is a hydrogen bond. Now conceptually we understood, we saw in the very beginning of the lecture what this bond is. Actually this is deficient, this is rich, electron rich, some electronic wave is coming out, going to this orbital. Effectively there's some amount of electronic wave between these two atoms. There's a bond, there's a force of attraction, and that's what a bond is. Because there is not complete electronic wave corresponding to two electrons, there is only partial electronic wave that has come out of this oxygen atom. So we don't draw with a complete dash or a line like as we show a covalent bond with. Rather, we use a dotted line to show incomplete or insufficient amount of electronic wave. This will be the representation of a hydrogen bond as we have shown here. So this is one carboxylic acid, this is another carboxylic acid, and they are bonded in the form of dimer through these two hydrogen bonds. So since the molecular weight effectively becomes double, because previously if you don't consider hydrogen bond, then one molecule of carboxylic acid has to come out during vaporization or boiling. Now because of these two hydrogen bonds, what will happen is both the molecule will together come out of liquid state. So effectively the molecular weight has been doubled. So hence the boiling point will also be double, because this time a heavier molecule has to come out that will require more amount of energy. So the boiling point is much higher than what was theoretically expected for carboxylic acid. Alright.